That means that no visitors are allowed.
Please visit the www.gov.uk site to view
These
the latest
people
information on this
are barbaric.
how to book. Please note that bookings, if available,
So, the story is, again, in case you haven't heard, that I was subjected to abuse by 4 senior officers. Senior Officer Rose, Senior Officer BLACKMAN, Senior Officer THORNTON, and Senior Officer Wheeler. And they, 3 of them said that we're going to make sure you get hurt. One of them paced the yard like a Nazi, whispering into my window at 4 o'clock in the morning. Wait. Yeah, bullshit, okay. So the point is, my strategy was to wind these officers up as much as possible and get them on body cam, being unacceptable, because I was, as I explained to the governor, with an adjudication of 12 people, it was a 100% punk art protest for prison reform, and I believe I got what I wanted, but I'm chasing this up. On the morning of that adjudication, Miss Rose, the worst of the lot, kicked my door, stuck her finger up through the hatch, and screamed, "You fucking cunt." The reason she didn't like me, well, there's no reason, she's a sadist. I was in the safe wing for 23 and a half hours a day with a man who smashed his girlfriend's head through a television. But that aside, which gave me panic attacks, of course, because I had no choice but to deal with this bastard. Other people that were listeners, so they were prisoners given responsibility. It was generally a happy environment, miles happier, like miles to Pluto happier than the general population, where virtually everyone is psychotic on spice. And there are knives everywhere. You can tap the cabinet of your cell. I tapped my own cabinet and razors fell like rain. I found a knife in the toilet. My biggest mistake was to see this deadly weapon, a Stanley knife, threaded with coloured string to a piece of stick, double-ended Stanley knife. Deadly weapon. I had a sheaf of papers in my pocket, and I put that sheaf of papers in my pocket. I thought I concealed it in the papers, and I thought. And I thought, what the fuck am I going to do with it? And I handed it into a screw. And that compromised my safety, so I locked myself in my cell. Like, I wrote, "The Optimist locks himself up inside a cell and paints the walls sky blue and says he's in heaven." That's the kind of thing that I did. Art everywhere. That was my coping strategy. The library was also my sanctuary. Listen to this. For some lads, it's the gym or sport or chapel. None of that works for me. I'm not a person of faith. Hi, my name's Daniel Hart. Who am I speaking to, please? Well.
On how to book a visit, which they can share with family members, friends, and other visitors. Restrictions will still be in place.
Try again. I think that man might have hung up on me. I don't know. Possible. I don't think so. If it was Callum, then he would have hung up on me. Because Callum is a fucking wanker.
Advisors cannot share prisoner details over the phone. This includes prisoner numbers and locations. If you are trying to locate a prisoner, please visit the available advisor. Thank you for holding. Your call is important to us, and we will be with you as soon as we can.
I'm just going to ask to speak to the governor. There's no other point. Good morning, Leah. My name's Daniel Hart. How are you doing?
Yes, thank you. And you?
Well, I'm okay. I'm recovered from a severe breakdown. Okay, and 4 spells in a psychiatric ward. Do you know why that was? Do you know why that was? Because I went to HMP BULLY for a few months, and I was actually released on remand without charge. But it traumatised me so severely that I totally and utterly cracked up. I will give you 4 names. Yeah? And I'm going to pursue. I'm going to pursue this, right? Senior Officer Rose, Senior Officer Blackman, Senior Officer Wheeler, and Senior Officer Thornton. Now, 3 of them, on body cam, said that they were going to make sure that they got me hurt. My neighbour hanged himself. Of course, virtually everyone is psychotic on spice. There are knives everywhere. There are rats and cockroaches and silverfish everywhere. Right? Yeah? You know that, don't you? It's not your fault. I am not going to be aggressive with you. Now, I've got a few questions. I understand that my only sanctuary there, the library, is now shut, isn't it?
We're not actually based inside the prison ourselves. We're a national switchboard.
I see. Okay. That's funny because the last time I phoned HMP Bullingdon, I was speaking to HMP Bullingdon.
Okay. It may have just been the time that you called.
Okay.
I don't know what time it was.
Well, the thing is, I'll be honest with you, I had a certain strategy to wind up these bastards, okay? Because I was on the first timers wing, which was relatively safe, it was drug free, yeah? And it had listeners, okay? So, in general, it was a happy environment. Although, I was stuck in a room with a man who smashed his girlfriend's head through his television. And I had 23 and a half hours a day, with him. And of course I had no choice but to get on with the bastard. Right? But I'd have panic attacks at night. I was laying on the floor, completely unable to breathe. On the cold stone floor, trying to keep my head together. That's mental torture beyond belief, isn't it? Yeah. But what's worse is that when I was on that wing, and I was getting on with every con, right? I should also add that a year before, I did a website for 800 quid, one of the most important charities in the UK, called Children Heard and Seen, okay? And that's for families of, it encourages people to be mentoring, alright, children whose parent or parents are in prison. Now, prison in the UK, the word rehabilitation does not come into it anymore, does it? There is no such thing as rehabilitation.
Were you sort of looking to speak to someone? How can we help?
I very, very much want to speak directly to the governor of HMP Bullingdon.
Unfortunately, we can't put anybody through to the governor, I'm afraid. Any correspondence
Classic.
with the governor does need to be made in writing.
Isn't that typical? Isn't that typical? I've got listen, I had an adjudication with Governor Price in 2017, alright? In front of 12 people in a room. And I'm not trying to big myself up, but I can speak for myself, and I'm of above average intelligence. I went to Oxford University, okay? And whilst it's irrelevant, I didn't deserve to go to prison because 2 people conspired with perjury to get me there, okay? But I could have been a murderer, and I shouldn't have been treated like that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree.
Good. So we're on the same page then, aren't we?
Yeah, I do understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate that you do want to raise this with someone inside the prison. Unfortunately, like I say, all correspondence with the governor, it has to be made in writing.
Okay.
They won't accept any phone calls from us.
Not a problem.
That's going to be the best way for you to raise this further.
Yeah.
I would encourage that you send a letter to the prison, either addressed to the governor,
Right.
or it may be best to address it to the management coordinator,
Okay.
the government secretary, because it's something that they would generally deal with.
Right.
It might be the best way for you to get your a response to your letter.
Because I want nothing short of at least Miss Rose herself. Oh, no, I need to tell you this. I forget. This is the important thing. When I was on the safe wing, yeah, after lunch eating the absolute pig swill that you're served in prison, right? After lunch I attempted, after of course 7 days of induction when you can't even make a phone call because the telephone clerk hasn't processed your PIN number, and you're in total isolation, right? Being bullied by some prisoners, yeah? Not all. I got on with an awful lot of convicts, okay? I'm Mr. Middle Class. Most of them are not, right? But nevertheless, I learned I learned a lot, and one of the things I learned is that there are some evil bastards in prison. Of course there are. Wayne Couzens, for example, he wouldn't even survive on the paedophile, rapist, and prison officer wing, would he?
We're not based at the prison ourselves.
No. You don't have to answer this question. It's a hot potato. But the PC that murdered Sarah Everhard, yeah? He's not even going to survive on that protected wing, is he? He'll be murdered there, like Richard Huckle, the paedophile. You're not answering, yeah? I don't want to push you. Don't worry. Okay? Because you're a compassionate person, I can tell. All right? So I want your assistance, and I don't want to fight someone who doesn't deserve it. Yeah? Okay, so thank you very much for your listening and understanding. Right? I've got PTSD, right? But I'm also a warrior. And I'm not going to let go. And I'll explain why. After that lunch, I tried to make a phone call, finally, to my parents, okay? And Miss Rose caught me doing that, without warning, said, "Get out! Get on my gas!" Right? I'm on a Facebook group called HMP Old Connections, and I've got plenty of substantiated evidence from other people about Miss Rose, saying I'll quote, "She's a horrible bitch. She looks like a geezer." Okay? Now, I'm not anti-lesbian, by the way, but she is a man-hating dyke. Buzzcut dyke, okay? Now, so she kicks me off the wing, and then says, "I've been here 12 years!" When I was saying, "Miss Rose, that behaviour is not acceptable." "I don't care what you think, get out!" I'm not exaggerating, that's how she speaks. As for the others, saying, "We're going to make sure you get hurt," and one of them pacing the yard at 4 o'clock in the morning, that's Senior Officer Thornton, like a Nazi in a concentration camp, whispering through my window, "We're going to make sure you get hurt." What do you think to that?
Okay, now, like I say, I appreciate that's a really difficult situation for you to be in, and it is not acceptable.
Good.
You are going to need to put this in writing so that it can be taken further.
Because
Do you have a number that we can
I want, listen, yeah, I want serious damages and an out-of-court settlement. Otherwise, I'll take it straight to the High Court, and it will be a national news story.
Have you contacted the Prison Information Ombudsman?
Not yet, no.
No. There would be probably the best people for you to raise it with, but what they will ask is whether you put it in writing and send it to the management coordinator of the prison first.
Right. So what?
Get a response to that letter, but you need to do that so that this can be dealt with by the relevant people. And
I appreciate that. So what would the right process be in order?
so you need to send a letter to the management coordinator.
Okay.
Outlining what you told me.
Okay.
You provide them with some contact.
And I'm also going. And I'll be transparent. I'm also going to send this recording.
You will be able to, if you provide some contact details, someone will be back in contact with you.
Okay.
And so you can, once you've had your response, you are able to raise it with the Prison and Probation Ombudsman if you feel that you need to.
I definitely do need to.
Yeah, you'll be able to find their contact details online.
I think I've seen it on HMP Bullingdon. So if I go to that website, should we have a look? Do you mind if I have a look together?
I mean, it's really difficult. We have got calls queuing. There were other calls I
It'll take 2 minutes, and then I can ring off.
get a letter sent to the management coordinator before raising it ready with the Prison and Probation
I
Ombudsman.
see. So the management right.
Done that.
Okay, so the first port of call then is the management coordinator, correct?
Yeah.
And then it's the prison ombudsman, yeah?
Prison and Probation Ombudsman, yeah.
Okay,
And then someone from that team will assist you in
that's super.
further.
That's really helpful. Now, how do I get hold of the management coordinator?
Okay, so you do need to send them a letter.
Yes, and I'm very good at writing.
Address.
Say again?
Address for the, just send the letter to the HMP Bullingdon address.
Yeah.
For the attention of the management coordinator.
Okay,
You just need to put some contact details in there.
right.
You will get a response to the letter that you send.
I shall do that, and I'll also include some screenshots of other people's remarks on Senior Officer Rose, because I want her sacked, and I want compensation, and I'm not going to stop before that happens. Okay, Laura?
Yeah, you can certainly put some, like say, some screenshots in there to.
Okay, I shall do that, and I'll leave you to your busy job. Okay, but I'll say this final thing. Miss Rose has worked there 12 years. Now she's worked there 16 years, I think. It's going to be her last year.
We're not based on a business to sort of comment on anything, but
No?
you can get that letter sent in, and you'll get a response. And if you need any more help, one of our consultants give us a call, and we can see what we can do to help you.
Excellent. That's really, really kind of you. And have a good day, okay?
And you.
Thank you, Laura.
Cool.
Good day, sunshine.
Bye.
Bye-bye.